So today we'll get started with the aggregation functions. This is also important thing, but it's very simple, very simple to work with these kind of functions. But there are some functions, right? So it will be quite a new one as far as the aggregation functions are concerned in the case of DAX. Just give me a second, 1 second. Let's go ahead and continue with the aggregation function. As part of this, we'll start with the count function. You might be wondering why you mentioned count functions, right? So in the case of DAX, there are different variants of count functions are available. Okay, within the count family, I just call this a count family. Within the count family, different types of count functions are available. Count function, count a function, likewise. Okay, and we will explore one after the other. But almost see, you know what is count, right? So if you use SQL query, the count function usually it will ignore the blank values in a column, but it will with the help of the count function we can find out how many number of non-null values are there in a column. For example, we have a column by the name of name, employee name. Let's say you have 10 records. In the 10 records, let's you have 10 values are there. For the 10 employees, names are there in the 10 records in the employee column, employee name column. So the count function will return 10. Supposing you have any blank values, in the case of text column, it will not consider that as a blank. For example, another example is I have a sales column. In the sales column, I have 10 records, but out of 10 records, 2 records in the sales column, I could see blank. So it will give me the total number of non-null values or 8. Okay, it will not take into account of, see, with the help of count, we can find out how many number of values are available in each column. Okay, so that is what we can find with the help of the count. And even in the SQL, you would have used count function. For example, you want to understand how many number of records are there in a table, select count of star from the table. That will give you how many number of records are there in a table. So it is highly important. Once again, I wanted to, once again. The count function, count a function, these are the functions that are available in a DAX. So if you, to simplify your job, what I did, I just grouped the count functions under two different groups, including blanks and excluding blanks. When you use these count functions, it will exclude the blanks while counting the number of values in a column. Okay, for example, the count function, you can use it for numeric column, all the data types except the Boolean data type. You cannot use count function. But though you can use with other data types like number and string data type, date data type, it'll simply ignore the blank values. Okay, for example, you have order date column. So in the order date, in the total number of records are 10. In the order date, you have two blank values are there. So when you use the count of order date, it will return 8 only. It will not consider the blank values. It will simply ignore the blank values. Okay. So except the Boolean data type, rest of the data type like string, number and string, number and date data type, it will work, the count function. Okay. And next one is the count a function. The simple way to remember is the a. You just think a is kind of all. Okay. So as the name suggests, a here, this one will work with all the data type, including the Boolean data type. But all these functions will ignore the blank values. In case you have any blank values are there in your Boolean column, it will ignore that one as well. Okay. And next one is the count x function. Both the count and count x functions are more or less same. More or less same. Then why we need to have two different functions? Difficult to remember. The reason they came up with the count x function is if you want to perform any row by row operation. One simple tip for you all is if you have, for For example, if you want to perform any row by row operation, sorry, in the case of count here, right? Yeah, simple tip. Sorry, the count x. We're talking count x. The function that ends with x are called iterative function. So whenever you use the function that ends with x, it iterates row by row. It goes to each and every row, and then it evaluates your expression if you have used any expression, and then it returns the value for each and every row. Okay. So only difference between count and countx function is the count function and countx function almost the same. Both of them don't work with Boolean. Rest of the data it will work, and it will ignore the blank values. But the other difference is in the case of countx, since this ends with x, it's an iterative function. It iterates row by row. That's all. Okay. So now we understood the difference between count and countx. Almost same. Only difference when it comes to countx is it will evaluate the expression row by row. Okay. And the next one is the count A and count X. Similar to count and count X, the count A and count X function. Okay, the count, but here, in the case of count A function, A, that means all the data type. It works with all the data type, but it ignores the blank values. And same thing applicable here also. But the difference here is the count A and count X it's an iterating function because it ends with X. It will iterate row by row to evaluate the expression. Okay. And the next one is the distinct count, count blacks, and count rows. These functions will include the blank values. For example, if you want to find out how many distinct values in a column including blanks. Okay, and the next one is the count blanks. If you want to find out how many number of blank values are there in the employee name column. Sorry, if I forget to employee name, salary column. Okay, in the salary column, how many number of records you have blank values in it. And then the count rows. This is the one gives you the total number of rows in a table, and then distinct count values in a column, which includes the blank values also. Okay. So these functions will simply ignore the blank values, whereas it will return only the non-blank values. Okay. These four functions. Okay. And the below one, it will return the blank values only. Okay. But the count rows will count all the rows in a table. It includes the blank values also. Very simple. So what I will do is I'll jump into the Power BI desktop to save time. I believe all of you must have watched this video. This regarding this topic, right? In one way, it is good if I use this one. See, in this case, what happened? I'm using a table called sales by customer. Okay, sales by. I already loaded this CSV file. Fine. So these are the columns are there, except this one. Okay, and this one I created it. Using calculate column. How do you create new column? Click on the new column, and then I created that way. So why I created this one? The reason is in this case, I'm going to replace the blank value by, see, if you find empty string, right? Okay, in this case, there are no empty string. Okay, see, in the case of text, you remember one thing. Customer name is a text data type. If you have any blank value here, it is not considered as a blank, it is considered as an empty string. One second, I don't know why the data was not reflecting the correct thing. Let me just go here. Currently, we are in Power Query Editor. Let's wait for a few seconds. And I'll just move this up. Some errors are there somewhere. Okay, we can ignore that. Sales W04. I'm going to take a look at this one. And here, column country state of table. Okay. Okay, we are interested in the sales by customer, right? Okay. So here, replace errors and change one. Look here. Here we have some blank values. Okay. And I just say, okay, let it be there. Let us go by this. Okay. How many number of records are there? 9 records. The 9 records, you can see a blank value here. According to us, it is a blank. but since it is being a text data type, this column, right? It will consider this as a empty string. Empty string is also is considered as a non-blank value in the text data type. Okay. Now, but whereas if you see null here in the numeric column, it will be considered literally as a null. And how many values are there? 3, 4, 5, 6 non-null values. 6 non-null values are there, and 3, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And 3 null values are there. 6 non-null values and 3 null values are there. Similarly, in the sales column. Okay, fine. Whereas here there is a null value, but it is not displaying null and nothing is there. It is not considered as a null. In the case of text data type, please remember this. There is an exception here. Okay, fine. What I'll do is I'll just maximize this. And then I'll go to the view ribbon and column quality. I'll just enable it, and column distribution, if you want, you can have it. Yeah, if you see here, this is your profile, right? So if you go to the view ribbon, you will find column distribution, column profile, column quality. If you select this one, you can see the distribution of this column, customer's name. The baron, next to the baron, right? For baron, we can see a tallest rectangle here, horizontal rectangle. So with that, we can understand baron name is appearing multiple times. Maybe he's a frequent visitor. Okay, frequent visitor. Okay, fine. And yeah, importantly, I want to show you this one. Look here, in currently customer name column got selected. And if you see the error 0, empty is 0. Empty string is 1. This is the one you need to remember it. So here it is considered empty string, not as an empty value. See, that's why it shows empty is 0. Okay, this is applicable to text data type. If the text data type, if you see any blank values, that is a empty string. String is also text data type, isn't it? Text. It's kind of a value. Okay, it's not a blank value. Whereas when you select unit sold, and here empty is 3. So 3 nulls are there, hence it put 3 here. But in the case of text data type, and even if you have blank value here, it is considered as an empty string. It is not considered as an empty value. Okay, good. So now we need to do, 1 second, I'll just close and apply. So this table data, we can view it only when we come to the data view. So what I did, you have the table visual. Okay, there are some issues there, the sales data type. I'll just say Discord. Here, what I did, I just dragged and dropped the column. 1 second, let me just remove this unnecessary thing. Yes. Okay, so now I removed the unnecessary thing. Look here, this is what my table, and let me refresh it one more time. Here I have used all the functions, the count related functions. Let's see, sales same. There is something of sales same is kind of a measure. Okay, now there are no errors, cool. And but here it is not reflecting with the blank value here. Let it be there. Empty string is not displayed here. Okay, let it be there. I just okay, so fine. So now what I'll do is so these are the card visual. Okay, I'll just show you one thing here. Count measure. Look here, when I select this one, I selected this card visual. On the right side, the measure that I used it for this visual got highlighted with tick mark. So, and if you click on the count measure, here we can see the count function used, sales by customer, units sold. Okay. And if you see units sold column here, how many values are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? 10 values are there. Out of the 10, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 values are blank. 4 records in units sold, right? That have some blank values in it. So 10 minus, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, yeah, 9 records. Okay. Out of the 9, the 3 records, right? So 9 minus 3 is 6. Non-null values. So here you have one null value, here one null value, here one null value. 3 null values are there. Total number of values are supposed to be 9, but out of the 9, 3 values are null. Hence, it gives you the 6 non-null values. Simply, you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are the non-null values, right? 6. That is what your count function. I just show you one more time the count measure. One second. This is what your count. So, how many of you remember how to create a measure? You know, right? Yeah, I'll just repeat it one more time to help you to refresh. See, you need to go to the modeling ribbon, click on the new measure. Wait for some time, it will open up something like, this is the one. Look here. Okay, it got closed. See, count of sales by customer units sold. Okay, so this is how you can give it. Okay, and the right side of the equal sign you can give. So this is my table name column. Whichever column you want to find out the number of values that are there in your so count. Okay, you can use it. So this is how I created the measure, and okay, we can see this one. And next one is the count function. Next one is the count x. Let us look at the relevant function. Look here, the count and count x. Because these two functions work with all the data type except the Boolean data type. Which one is Boolean data type here? The active column, the true, false, right? This is your Boolean column. And count x, let's go and I just selected this. Let's scroll down and see where the measure that I use it for it. Or else you can keep the cursor over here. Sales by customer count x measure. Look here, if I click on this, it will show whatever the measure that I created already. So in the case of count x, since this function ends with x, it's an iterative function. Remember one thing very clearly. In the case of iterative function, the first argument suppose your table name, and second argument suppose your expression or the column name. In this case, I did not use any expression. I simply use the column name, customer. So here, in the case of customer, let's go back here and see that. In the case of customer, 9 values are supposed to be there, but out of 9, 1 value is blank. So hence it returns 8 here. Got it? That's all. And the next one is count AX. Now you understood what is count and count X. The count X function and count, both of them are almost similar. Only difference is it's an iterating function. It iterate row by row to evaluate an expression. Okay. In this case, there is nothing is there to evaluate the expression. I just simply use a column. Okay, so it goes to the 1 second. What is the column that I used it here? Customer column, right? It goes to this column and then it counts how many non-null values are there. It gives me that one, 8. Okay, next one is the count a function. When I click on the count a function, the count a visual, count a, the column name. That's all. This is the syntax. Directly you can specify the column name. So even in this case, it shows the count a also shows 8 values are there. In the customer column, in total 9 values are supposed to be there. Since there is a blank, one blank value is there, it is not taking into account. Okay, so only count a gives us 8. So 2, 4, 6, 8. Then you might be asking this question. Earlier you said empty value is considered empty string in the case of customer, text data type. But why it shows 8 only? Why it shows 8 only? Okay, so there is a issue here. Okay, the count a function that I will explain it later. Okay, with another DAX function. So count a works with all the data type. You remember this. Let me just check one more time. Okay, count a customer column. I used it. Okay, it gives me the 8, but it ignores the blank value here. Yeah, why it is ignoring the blank value? Look here. Now it's a little explain. I just go back the data view. Customer's name. Look here, customer column. And if I click on the customer column, I have used some if condition. If the customer's name column, if the customer's name column has empty string, how do you check the empty string? Like this, double quote. Don't leave any space. Double quote, double quote. This is how you can check whether you have a blank values or empty string is there in any text column. If the customer name column has empty string, comma, replace that by blank, which means null you put it. Otherwise, to display the same color value as it is. Got it? Yeah. So now I just go back to the report view. And here, that's the reason why in the case of customer column, it shows only 8. Because in the customer column, we have replaced the empty string by blank. Hence, it ignore the blank value and it gives me this one. So now we are through with the count function and what else? The count function and count x function. Now you are familiar with count a. A is nothing but all data type. You just think that way. Okay. Next one is count ax. This also works with all the data type like count a function, including the Boolean data type. Okay. I just click on this measure. Count x. Look here. Here I have used the filter function. Since this function ends with x, it is an iterative function. The syntax for iterative function, the first column is supposed to be a table name. Instead of table name, use the filter function. Even in the case of filter function, the first argument is supposed to be table name, comma the filter. Okay. So the filter function in turn returns a table. Okay. It returns a filtered, it returns a subset of your table because you have used the sales by customer, active. You have a column called active, active equal to true, right? Look here, active equal to true. So in this case, it will filter only the true related records. How many true related records are there? 1, 2, 3, right? So these 3 records, we have the Boolean column has true values in it. Okay, so that is what I filtered it there. So using the filter function. Don't take the entire data. You take the records where you will find the customer status is active equal to true, and then you count the number of values in active column in this case. Okay, so true, true, true. only these three values will be there because you are filtering with this one. Of the three, if you do the count, right, out of the three, if you do the count, again it will give the three only. So true, true, true. So this is considered 1, 1, 1. Okay, 3. Okay, so true is considered as 1 and false is considered as 0. In the case of Boolean data, you remember that, okay? But here it literally does the count. How many number of occurrences of true is there? So 3. How many number of occurrences of true is there? 3. Got it? Okay. And now you understood count A and count AX works similar. It works with all the data type. The only difference is the count AX function, since ends with X, it's an iterative function. It evaluates the rows row by row. Okay, it evaluates the expression row by row. Okay, that's all. The count function and count X function doesn't work with Boolean, whereas count A and count AX works with all the data type. Like count AX function also iterates row by row, but the count A function works with the Boolean data type, whereas count X function, it works with all the data type except the Boolean data type. That's all, guys. Next one is we covered all these functions. Where is that count function? Sorry, so I missed it. This is the one. So we covered the 4 count related function. Next 3 distinct count. So these functions will take into account of the blank value also. So for that, we will go and look here distinct count. I just selected this one on sales column. If you look at this, see, I have given some meaningful name. So in sales column, how many null values are? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Okay, 6. And how many blank values are there? 1, 2, 3 blank values are there. Since I'm using distinct, it removes the duplicates for null. Okay, and how many non-null values are there? 2, 4, 6, and then the null value is 1. Though 3 null values are there, since we are using distinct will give you only the unique value for each and everything. So 7. It is correct, distinct count. And the next one is the blank count. The blank count, where I used it, the blank count I used on sales column. Okay. In the sales column, how many number of blank values are? Supposing your manager asks you, can you tell me how many number of values you can find it blank in sales column? You can use the count function. Sorry, blank count function. You can use the blank count. I just open this count blank. Sorry, count blank. The count blank. Yeah, here I mentioned the count blank, not blanks. Okay, count blank function is helpful to find out only the number of blank values are there in a column. Now you got it. Okay, the next one is the count rows. Look here, this is the one count rows. And if you go here and count rows sales by customer. So in this case, even though I mentioned about the column as customer, so with the help of the counters function, we can find out how many number of records are there in a table, irrespective of any duplicate, sorry, any, not duplicate, any blank values. It takes into account of the blank values also. So in total, if you see here, 8 plus 1, one blank record is there, right? It takes into account of that one also, 9 values are there. So this table has 9 records, and out of which you can see the 3 blank values are there in the sales column. This is sales column, right? A blank count, yeah, sales column, we have 3 blank values are there. And in the case of sales column, it takes into account, distinct count takes into account of the null value also. But in case of any duplicate values, it will take into account of only one time. Okay, that is why it's called distinct value. Just give me a second, and I have some. We have explored all the count related functions. The count function, count X function, count A function, count X function, sorry, count AX function. and distinct count function, count blank function, and count rows function. Okay, we compared and contrasted about all the functions. Okay, you must be having this question. 1 second, I'll just click on this. There is an error here. Let's see why there is an error here. Okay, here if I click on the sum of this is sum. Okay, we have some function. You can give it a try. I'll just share this thing. You can just check with the count function. You just use a count function, the same thing. You just select it and then click on the count measure. When you go here, okay, I know I will do it here itself on your behalf. Okay, and here the active, right? So the Boolean data type is active. And if I go and press enter, it will throw an error because the count function doesn't work with the Boolean data type. Look here, it is not working with Boolean data type. Okay, so for that purpose only, the count function, the count function doesn't work with the Boolean function. That is the reason I used some other column here. I used use sales column. Can you see that? You can see some error, right? That means the count function doesn't work with the both count and count X function. That doesn't work with the Boolean data type. Rest of the data type, it works. Cool. It's pretty simple, isn't it? Fine.